Oh yeah, flexibility.
Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I'm here with one of my favorite people to talk to. I'm so blessed and honored to be here with Chris Roberts, Director of Innovation from Ayers. Chris, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, man. Dude, I still think you have the coolest title in the business.
Thank you. I actually have a plaque that says that, like, coolest title in the business. So I'll have to bring it out next time.
Yeah, that and $5 will get you a latte, right?
That's right.
So, but seriously, Chris, if you haven't talked to Chris, which I'm sure most people out there have, or at least have seen some of his posts, he's probably one of the coolest thinkers. You posted something, Chris, recently that said, oh gosh, I'm going to butcher this. It was about not innovating products, but innovating factories.
Right. Yeah. Great leaders innovate the factory, not the product.
And that blew me away. And when I think about like Steve Jobs, when I think about Henry Ford, when I think about all of these titans that are just known, I mean, even Jeff Bezos, right? When and how they just change. I mean, Jeff Bezos, what he did to a bookstore, what Steve Jobs did to a phone, and just changing the way that they're built. And I mean, anyway, I'm going on and on, but it spoke to me in a way, and I thought it was just the perfect quote to kind of tee up what we're doing today here with design thinking. And I'm so excited you're here, man.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Nice to be back.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, if you're watching this right now, we're gonna have a really fun show today. So hit that like button, get in the comments. We're gonna do something totally crazy. We're gonna do something that we've never done here before. Okay. We're going to actually do a fully interactive design thinking-ish kind of show. Chris, are you ready for this?
Sort of.
Dude,
are you?
No, we literally came up with this idea 5 minutes ago. We're like, yeah, we got notes. I got notes here. It would be cool if we showed him this. And you're like, well, that doesn't really make any sense, Ben. But you know what I could do is show him this. I'm like, hey, that's cool. Let's do that.
Yeah, flexibility. It's the name of the game, right? That's for.
Yeah. No, and Chris, you're a great sport, and this is awesome. We got people checking in. So, hey, everybody, I want you to actually focus. I know a lot of people just listen to this in the background, but I want you to actually focus. Chris, can we put the link into the comments where they can go and participate?
Yes.
I was hoping you'd say that. All right.
I think I might have to.
You work on this.
Okay. Yeah, give me 1 second on that.
I'll get the link in. I'll get the link in all the sites. Okay.
Sounds good.
Cheers to Tim. Hey, let's raise our glasses to Tim Quirk in the background now. What would I do without the people? And shout out to Stacey Health, by the way. We just got a promotion. Our producers all of a sudden overnight too busy to be here. So I will ask everybody here. Ask everybody here to go to this link. Tim put it up here. Go to this link. It's mural. I know it's super long, looks really virusy, but it's really not. It's all good. Just go to the mural link. Explain to people, Chris, what this is.
So mural, and if anybody saw the last time I was on here, we spoke a little bit ad nauseum about mural because it's this really cool tool that we use all the time, which is essentially a digital whiteboard. And so it's one of the tools that I've relied on pretty heavily over this last year as we've taken design thinking from being something that's primarily in person to something all digital, right? And so mural is this really fantastic tool that can help you to do that. And so I see some people are logging in here. Do you want to tell them about the question, what we're trying to do here, or?
They're already hitting it? Okay.
Yeah,
let everybody log in. Who are you seeing in there? Shout them out real quick.
Well, let's see. Depends on if people add your name. So if you click on the mural link, maybe just a quick note is it's going to assign you a random animal since you don't have an account. So if you're like a pig or a goat, don't blame me. It's mural. It's not me.
Don't take it personal.
Don't take it personal. But you can also go and hover over your icon and you can change your name. But I see Lynn Lynn Greenberg's in there. Hey, Lynn.
Of course she is. Lynn's always early on this stuff. That's great.
Allison McDaniel, she's in there. Hey, Allison.
Awesome.
Tim's in there.
Okay.
Let's see.
Let me get in there. How do I want to get in there? Let's see here. Timmy, is it in the private chat? Oh, there it is. Okay. So while I'm actually broadcasting, I'm actually also flipping into this here. I'm a visiting shark. Oh, that's fun. I'm not sure I'm down with that. Let's do it. I'm accepting the terms and conditions. I'm entering as a visitor. People are visiting sea turtle, visiting lion, visiting ram. Put your name in there too, if you want. So yeah, go in there, check that out. Let me come back here to the broadcast. Okay, so people are floating around the mural. I'm gonna give some shout outs real quick too, as everybody logs in there. Check it out, float around. Big shout out to Jamie Massler. Jamie, I was just thinking about you. I was looking at my yard. I know you're always cutting the grass, dude. My weeds are out of control. Holler at your boy. I need a full makeover. Val, hey, Chris and Ben's Deluxe. Looking forward to the combo. Val, are you in mural, Val? Lynn's in the house. What's up, Lynn? Lynn's hiring a bunch of people over at Pivot. Shout out to Lynn. That's awesome. Alan King from Germany. Germans known for their design. Francine Drusty. Hi, Ben and Chris. Chris is wicked smart. I love hearing about how he processes things. Wicked smart.
Thank you.
Hey, driver. Hey, if you're driving right now, driver, don't do this. But if you're not driving, do this. Steven, be safe out there. Theodora, you got this, Chris. This is awesome. Looks like Remo and whiteboard kind of. Val says, yes, I don't know what animal I am. I did put my name in.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Tom Bruin, I want to see you in there, Tom. Hello from sunny and warm for the time being, Indiana and Greater Denver. Okay. And then maybe what I can do also is share my screen too, so that people who aren't logged in with the cool kids can actually get in there. Should I do that? Let's see.
Sure.
Okay. Do you want to tell people what we're doing here and like set the table while I'm messing around with this?
Sure. So I guess maybe one good thing to start with is when we talk about design thinking, it's essentially just a framework to help you think through problems and then generate a wide variety of solutions. And as you're doing that, to do it in a very collaborative way with other people. And usually this involves also making your work really visual. And so that's why a lot of times if you've ever been a part of design thinking, or you've seen pictures of it, or maybe you've seen a video on it on LinkedIn Learning, I know there's a bunch of them out there now. It usually focuses on people putting things on a whiteboard, usually Post-it notes or writing with markers. And oh, Alan's a lion. You got a good one. It usually involves all of this around a whiteboard, and so Mural is essentially a whiteboard. And so what we wanted to do was kind of give you just a little bit of a taste of what it's like to maybe do this digitally. And so what we did was we said, let's just maybe pose a question that maybe people are thinking about, and that is this question of, if you could change anything about the global mobility industry, what would you change? And so you'll notice that Alan, at least, has put a Post-it out there with his name on it. If you double-click anywhere on the screen, you can add a note, and then you can start typing in that note. And so as you see, I just added one that says, this is my note. Feel free to double-click anywhere on here, add a note, and maybe put something on here that you would change if you could change anything in mobility. And I'll give you a minute, 2 minutes.
I'm doing this right now. I just put mine up there. Everybody knows that I'm a big lump sum hater. And I said I would get rid of lump sum policies. And I'm actually making my post note really big because somebody's giving me that power. And then people are monkeying around here with the with this. I don't. What's going on with this shape? Does anybody else see this shape here? What's going on with this? It's just me. Nobody sees the big teal triangle jumping off the screen. No.
And let's see. I'm going to also make sure everybody's looking at the same place too. So,
oh, do we have two of them open?
No, but it's a big board. So, ooh, look at that big board. So I'm going to zoom back in, and and so if you I can summon everybody to the same spot. So if you're in there, you should be seeing my spot. And if not, you can also hover over my icon and follow me.
Yeah, throw something out there, guys. Throw a real topic or something. Throw a real pain point that you have, just because I think it would be fun to put some stuff out there. So Val, I think at Deluxe said transparency. Val, I'd love to know more about that. Throw something out there, and there's no wrong answers. Definitely some answers are better than others. Not gonna lie, but there's no wrong answers. We got people with smiley faces. This is great. Viva Van Bakel says, nice to see this in action. Love the methodology. Viva, don't forget at the top, hop in the mix there. There's Tim actually left the link here up top, so you can go check it out on that mural link right there. Viva, check it. Yep, Tim left it again. Val's having fun. All right, so then pretend that you're actually Chris. Walk us through this. And everybody, okay, I'm sorry, I have to do this, but I just want to set the table. One of the reasons that we're talking about this is because Chris and I, last time we were on the show, we talked about doing an actual design thinking session together, a real session. And I think we're actually working on putting something together, an innovation summit together. It's sponsored by Altavita's putting it together, and then we have a bunch of other sponsors and participants. Chris and Ayers are our sponsor. We're also looking for other sponsors to participate as well. Love your thoughts on that. But Chris, tell us about the methodology, since you're the one that's going to really be kind of helping us put this together.
Sure. So I think design thinking is it's a framework, right? And it's essentially a means to help people work better together. And so as you can see, we're right now, by just using this tool, which is a component of it, right? It's giving us the ability to quickly collaborate. And there's a lot of tools out there that can help you collaborate in real time, right? Google Suite, Microsoft Suite, they all have things out there, but there's the thing that I like about this kind of a setup is you want to give people the ability to do a number of different things, both the ability to just quickly put information in there. But as you can see, there's also some fun things happening that you don't always get in one of those other tools. And that is people can, like Ben put that lump sum note up there. And then he said, I'm going to make this really big because it's really important. And then you see somebody who puts a little fire icon out there, and you can start expressing yourself in all these other little ways. And so it's this really fun, imaginative means to be able to get people to start working together. And that's one of the things about design thinking that I think is really great. It really helps you to expand your thought process. And then it also provides a really great framework to then bring it back to earth and get focused on maybe some high priority items.
I love it because I'm over here, I'm actually using this right now, and I'm actually playing with it. I'm actually enlarging some people's post-it notes, and then I'm actually like kind of grouping them. And I would actually, so like for instance, like these two, right? I said I would get rid of lump sum policies. I dragged the really cool fire thing over there. Now I'm putting the light bulb over there to accentuate it. But then somebody put one next to me. I think it's Vinny the visiting cat. I'm not sure. I would make lump sum super lucrative for all involved, and then prove to Ben that it could be amazing. Which is a different take on the same theme, which I love. This is great.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, does it usually get out of control like this, where everybody's just like getting crazy?
Well, it depends. So I definitely, one of the other things that I really like, and this really can help the crazy, and that is design thinking. One of the things that it also relies on is this sort of ebb and flow of individual work as well as group work. And so an example of what I mean by that would be if I were to actually be focused on facilitating a session with everybody about this topic of what would you change in the global mobility, I would probably say, hey, I'm going to give everybody 5 minutes, put as many thoughts as you can get out there, as many gifts as you can put out there, and then we're going to discuss it. And so until that 5 minutes is up, you're not allowed to talk. You're just putting stuff out there. And so you'd see how much information you could generate. And then that starts to give you this ability to then just put all of your thoughts out on paper. And that's usually when like all of the introverts in the room are usually like, thank you. Like, just give me a few minutes just to like get my thoughts together. And then you bring it back and you say, okay, now let's talk through this and see what's kind of interesting things are starting to emerge. And so you bring it back into that group setting. And so that's one example.
So I love that you said a few things, right? And because I'm totally the extrovert that dominates meetings and is always talking and raising my hand, me, I got an idea, right? And then there's 20 other people that have great ideas also, right? So
Right.
I totally get that, and I think that's awesome. Can we give people a 5-minute time limit and say, hey, everybody, can we collaborate? And then come back and actually, do you think there might be some usable stuff here? Or no? Too far gone.
It might be too far gone. I don't know. Limit the number of places. Yeah, maybe. Actually, how about maybe we could reframe this, and I'm going to move.
All right, so we're going to make a serious corner now.
Okay, this is the serious corner. I've entitled that serious.
Okay. I as much as antithetical as this idea is to have a serious corner on this show, we're going to create a serious space. So we got GIFs of Dwight Schrute lookalikes, but we also have this space over here where we can actually put some serious topics. We're going to kind of beta test, are we able to actually come up with something usable in 5 minutes? And we're going to stick with a similar theme. What is the biggest challenge you face right now? And this will be in the serious corner. So you can mess around with the GIFs if you want, and the fire and everything, and then trolling my lump sum viewpoints. Or you can come over here to the serious corner and get down with the lump sum anarchy over here, or anything else. So what is the biggest challenge you face right now? Throw it in over here. I'd love to see everybody get involved. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Tag people in the comments of the LinkedIn or the Facebook post to get them to join the party, because this is live and this is happening right now, and it's more is more. Is there ever too many people, Chris, in this kind of environment?
No, actually, it's not. I've facilitated design thinking activities with 500 people. I've done it with 3 people. It really, you just have to adjust some of your framework accordingly, as well as I think your time limits that you give to people. But no, you can make it with really big crowds. I've seen a lot of people use this at conferences. I've used it at conferences. I've used this actually to help facilitate some pretty big research projects for our company. And so hundreds of people in there at one time.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool, because it's really hard to do hundreds of people in person. I've done it, but it's not easy. So it's a lot easier when you've got a tool like this to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, I'm loving this right now. I'm actually stretching people's posts. It's a little bigger, just so that we can make sure that we can read them from on the LinkedIn broadcast as well.
Sure.
So just double click over here and type something, guys. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it. Get involved. So let's, while people are riffing on this as well, because people are starting to get in here, which is like super cool, and people are digging this over here. We got a couple questions while people continue to contribute. Henri says, talk about gamification.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how it's a pretty simple tool. It's a pretty simple concept that we're trying to do, but it really releases a lot of creativity, and it really starts to, it's almost like, this may sound cheesy, and I hope it doesn't, but it feels almost like you've kind of released or unleashed people, right? And there's no boundaries. And so really it can be a great, very simple way to help people get a little bit more comfortable if we're going to ask you to brainstorm around something. And then certainly you can also add other elements of gamification into this if you wanted to as well, but I'll keep it simple for today.
So is there a gamification element though to this, or no?
Yeah, there certainly can, and it really depends on the type of activities that you go after. And so, for example, the activities that we're doing right now are really super simple. Here's a question, put some Post-it notes up on here. There's plenty of other things where you can encourage people to come in and say, I want you to maybe think about how might you think about a story around somebody who might be in a lump sum situation, and grab this pen tool and maybe start drawing their story. Now it's a little bit harder, using pen tools like this. As you can see, my little stick figure is pretty painful, a little lopsided here, but you could always say that's this, this is cool haircut, right? And you could draw in a series of frames, and so you could do some cool stuff like that to try to say, what does this experience look like? And I might map it out. You might do other things too, where you play off one group to another. There's a whole lot that you could explore into this, but usually what I try to do, I can't say I use a ton of gamification in the work that I do, but I usually am going along a similar path of almost always where you say, start with a problem, get people to understand what the problem is and aligned on, is that the right problem to solve? And then finding a way to then get them to think very broadly around how could we solve that, and then come back to earth and focus on one or two top ideas. And when I've got a big group, I try to keep that super simple, because you don't want to explain things. If I've got a smaller group, I might go after some more activities that might take a little bit more explaining to do, if you will.
So this is awesome. People are actually leaving some really good comments in here. I would ask people that put Post-it notes in there, if you could expand them and make them bigger, that would be really helpful, because then we could see them on the LinkedIn broadcast share screen. So just, I know you might be introverted and you might just kind of want to just put it out there, but just kind of blow it up for us a little bit so we can see it. And Lynn says, this is so great for remote work.
Yeah, it really is. So we use this all the time at AIRS. We've used it in strategic planning work. We've used it in user research. We've used it in client engagements. We use it for all kinds of things. And as I mentioned before too, I've also used it in industry type settings, and this one included, although it looks like our screen's going a little bit funky right now, but
yeah, it takes a lot of system resources to kind of run this.
Yeah.
You got it open in two screens here too. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, we're really pushing the limits here.
I know, I killed it. Let me see. I'm gonna bring it back, guys. Keep playing. Play amongst yourselves. Well, that's what it feels like. It feels like, remember when you were a kid?
Yeah.
And you get sidewalk chalk, and you're sitting on the sidewalk, and we're all like on the same sidewalk, and I'm coloring the tree for Earth Day, and you're coloring a tic-tac-toe, and then Tim's coloring a giraffe. And then we kind of like step back and we look at it and we're like, hey, look what we did. We colored the whole elementary school. Like, that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
Team scribbling over in the corner. Like, it's kind of cool.
And there's a lot of really cool, so I was talking about activities. I'm going to pull up an activity really quickly that I like that's in here. So let's see, where did it go? Here we go. I've subjected many people to this activity before, so they'll probably, if you've ever done anything with me in Design Think, you'll know this is a great activity. And so I'm going to zoom over here on this tool called Creative Matrix. And so we were talking earlier, Ben, you made the comment about being the loudest guy in the room. And isn't that typical of most brainstorming? There's usually one person that's driving the conversation. Usually people leave frustrated. There's this cartoon I really love that kind of illustrates this perfectly, where it shows at the end of the meeting what it looks like, and there's like furniture thrown everywhere, and people are really disheveled and like totally like foaming with anger. and it's because a lot of brainstorming is super frustrating for people. And so one of the great things about some of the frameworks that you can use in design thinking is it can really help you to provide like just enough structure to engage everyone, but also not limit them in their thinking. And so here's one, this creative matrix is one example. And I think I'll summon you. There we go. And so the way, yeah, you got summoned.
I was like doing this, and it's like, whoop.
That's right.
Right.
So a tool like this, how this works is you could say, I'll take that one of those problems that you outlined. And so let's say Okay, let's go over and let's actually grab one of them. So, okay, here, let's use this one. Limit the number of places assignees put in data. This is one that comes up an awful lot. So I'm gonna stick this one in here, and I'm gonna just convert this slightly to a question, and I'm gonna say, how might we limit the number of places assignees put in data?
Okay, so you're turning that into a question. And why is it important that that's in a question format first?
You know, because it just helps you to think about it. That little bit of reframing just helps you to help you make that leap to, I'm trying to answer this question.
Okay.
It's a pretty simple tweak, but it can really go a long way in that. And so I'm going to take my problem statement here, and maybe if we had more time, we'd put a couple more problem statements across these columns. And then once I've got those problem statements figured out, actually, let me lock this really quickly. Then I could come over to the rows, and the rows, you would think about those as enablers or things that will help you solve that problem. And so maybe one of them, an enabler might be people. Maybe you might say technology. Maybe another one might be ERC. Why not? Right? I mean, you can come up with a bunch of different things you want in here. You can be super specific, like ERC, or you could say, I'm just going to think about people. And then once you know what those enablers are, then you can come back here and say, let me think about the intersection points on this grid. And so if I were to think about how might I solve for this problem of limiting the number of places that an assignee has to enter data, how could I solve that with people? And then I'm going to come up with an idea that is specific to people. And so maybe this one is a personal assistant, right? There's no bad ideas at the moment, right? And then I'm just going to go through this whole grid and try to quickly fill out as many ideas looking at those intersection points.
This is crazy because I'm already doing it in my brain now, like technology, like I'm the loud guy, right? Technology. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this together, me and you, right? So
okay.
People, personal assistant, right? Obviously not the best idea, but an idea that involves people and how to limit. But now technology, you know, APIs and integrations, right?
Yeah.
You know, ERC, having some sort of a third-party open source kind of platform that connects all the suppliers that are in, that are in the ecosystem or something, right? Some sort of a open source framework hosted by ERC or something, right?
Yeah.
Which I guess is technology, but yeah.
So in a case like this, what I would do, and it's sort of like how we started the other activity out, I probably would say, everybody give it 15 minutes, generate as many ideas as you can. And you usually can walk, in just 15 minutes, you can usually walk away with anywhere from 30 to well over 100 ideas. And it's not it's a quantity over quality kind of a thing. And so this gives you that really broad opportunity. Nobody talks during that 15 minutes. So everybody gets a chance to get their ideas out there. And then we would come back and we would start talking through this and then kind of vote on our favorite ideas. And so a really fantastic tool to democratize brainstorming, right? And now, Ben, you don't have everybody mad at you for being the loudest guy in the room. They got a chance to share their stuff.
I know. I love that. And I love the fact that you said it's a quantity over quality thing, right? Because I think it's always like, oh, well, I better have the best idea. If I'm going to raise my hand, I better know the answer.
Right.
You know? Whereas before, like, I can now like anonymously write my little Post-it note, stick it there, and then back up and then like see if it catches or see if people get it, you know?
Yep.
And then I'm assuming at the end of the 15 minutes, no talk, Post-it notes everywhere, you come in, and then how do you take that information? What do you do with it?
Yeah, so usually what I would do then is that I would give everybody 2 minutes and say, okay, Ben, you're up first. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and I want you to highlight maybe your top like 5 ideas that you put on the board. And so that one gives you a sense that gives you the ability to quickly start prioritizing. But it also gets participants a chance to just focus on the things that they thought were really good, and then they don't worry about maybe some of the other ideas that weren't so hot. And so you give everybody a chance to just quickly get their airtime, and then you give everybody a vote and say, okay, if you were to vote on 2 things on this whole board, what would you vote on to advance? And then that then also gives them a buy-in in the decision making. And so in like a half an hour, 45 minutes, you've taken what would have been a super painful hour-long plus activity, and you've pulled everybody together. Everybody is working in tandem with one another. They're getting their voices heard. They're getting their ideas out there, and they're also getting to work together to align on what are the best things to move forward with, and pretty simple structure to do that, right?
So simple, so intuitive, so obvious. So this is like obvious, like it's painfully obvious to me. It's like so obvious that I'm like, why have I ever done meetings in another way? Like you've ruined me for meetings for the rest of my life. Honestly.
I do what I can. I do what I can.
Yeah, no, like seriously, like I'm gonna walk every meeting I'm gonna go in from like here on out. Thank God I work for myself now, because if I ever had to sit through another person's meeting, well, after seeing this, I'm like, why are we not doing this? Because you get so much iteration, and you get so much collaboration in such a time. In 15 minutes,
Yeah.
it would have taken you a 2-day offsite probably to get through.
Right. And I would say this is a super simple example, right? I also really love using this tool to help us go through complex problems. And so I'll use one example. We've done a couple of these already over the last couple of years, but what we did for one of our clients where we pulled them, their key people on their team, the key people on our team, and our key service providers together, partners together in one room. And we said, this was back when we could still be in a room together. And we said, we all have different parts of the overall journey of helping somebody relocate. Why don't we map out what each of one of us is doing and then talk through it? And you might say, well, shouldn't you already know? But the reality is there's actually a lot of parts of the process that we just never see because of just the role that we play in it. And so we mapped out this crazy big mapping of like 10 different processes that were happening all in tandem with one another. And what we ended up finding was one, that there was a whole lot of information that a lot of people in the room weren't even aware were happening. And it opened up the door for all these new opportunities to be partnering with each other to drive some new efficiencies, maybe to create something new that wasn't there before. So we've used it in process mapping as well. And I think the process mapping is a great example because you think about what's one way that people typically do process mapping? Excel. Yeah, and you think about doing an Excel process map and then sharing that with other people. It's like it's a nightmare, right? It's a complete nightmare. But in a case like this, you could say, well, we're going to just map out. Maybe we're just going to say, here's a starting point and an end point. Everybody just put on a Post-it note and create a line of Post-it notes of the key activities that you do on this timeline. And it gives you this ability to have some things that you could easily move around in case you screw something up. Or if, let's say, Ben has a process up here, this is Ben's process above the line, I'm below the line, and Ben's process actually looks something like this, and there's a big gap in here, you could start saying, oh, wow, we actually have a huge opportunity.
I'm not seeing your, let me see. Oh, I see the gap. Yeah. Visiting crap. Got you.
Sorry.
Yeah, so this is super interesting, and I think we get this. So right. Now let's say, okay, let's take this methodology, and now how do we do something really big with it? And that's really the reason I think that we're actually here today, right? Is like to say, okay, hey, we want to do something really big with this. Because the first time I heard Chris talking about this, I'm like, this is a really big idea. And I'm just like in love with really big ideas. And so I kind of stored that in the back of my mind. We had a conversation. We're like, yeah, let's do something. And then like life happens. And we're like, okay, whatever. We're trying to figure out the time and the moment. We want to do something like this. This was going to be kind of the end goal. It's like show people. But now we actually have the opportunity and shout out to Vivi Hamel, and shout out to Carolina Savoyova, and shout out to all the Alta Vita team who wanted to do a corporate housing innovation summit. So we're going to do a corporate housing innovation summit. And they came to me, and we're working on this corporate housing innovation summit. And I said, it would be really innovative is if we got Chris involved to do a design thinking workshop in it.
Yep.
And Chris, let's talk about what the goals. Let's talk about what your goals are, what my goals are. What are our goals? Let's talk about this for a minute and just kind of tell people about this.
Yeah, I think the biggest goal is doing something that's an open source activity. We as an industry talk all the time about how, well, we want to see change, or we want to see change here, or we want to see change there. But when you actually get people in a room, then suddenly the walls go up because, oh, well, my competitor's here, or this person, is sort of a competitor, or there's this sort of weird thing here, or I don't want that supplier to know that I'm doing this, right? All of those little things that naturally can bubble up oftentimes can be a hindrance to us. And so one of the great things about what we're trying to do is we're using this platform, right, to be able to help us, and we're using design thinking. And as everybody has seen, you can come in and you can be an animal, or you can be your name, right? And so there's a level of autonomy that it also affords, and we're also giving people a voice to be able to prioritize. If you were to look at the example we're using is corporate housing. If you look at corporate housing, what kinds of things are problems out there, and where are they problems in the world, and giving a chance to unpack some of that stuff, and then also help be a part of generating solutions for that. The closest thing that we have to that kind of work are corporate corporate or supplier roundtables. And let's be honest, a lot of them aren't valuable times. Like a lot of times it's maybe a person pontificating about something that maybe the rest of the group doesn't care about, or maybe sometimes part of it is beneficial, but you're only hearing from a very small fraction of people in the room, and then the other 300 of people that are in the room are sitting there checking their phones and doing other things. And so I think what we're trying to do is pull people together into a very meaningful conversation and a meaningful process that is really shaping change for our industry.
Yeah, I think that's so cool because you're right. We'll come together, like an RMC will host a summit or a thought thing, whatever, or the association ERC will host something, but we don't really get into details, right? Because we're always worried about competition and everything. And
Right.
I think it's probably the reason we haven't solved, in my opinion, what I put up here as the biggest challenge is the interoperability issue. The fact that our systems don't talk to one another. And the issue of our systems not talking to one another as an industry, where we have a RMC, where most business funnels through an RMC who manages all these different verticals with all these different suppliers within each vertical. And yet so many processes are still done via email, still done through Excel spreadsheets, still done. There's fax machines in some companies. I swear, I'm not even lying. And and why is that the case here in 2021? There was books written about 2020, right? We're supposed to be in spaceships flying around right now, okay? And we're still using these processes. But I think that's the number one thing, to your point, is people are really afraid to really go open kimono and source this. So when I was talking to the ladies at Alta Vita and I was talking to you, I was like, let's just go in there and let's do something out in the open. And it won't be necessarily working on existing product because that's giving up information. But let's all come together to create new product. And so what the ladies at Alta Vita said was, we want to do, and I put the link down there. So everybody go right now, register for the Alta Vita Innovation Summit. If you're in corporate housing, this is for you. If you're an RMC, this is for you. If you're a corporate, this is for you. And if you're not any of those things, this is still for you, because it's teaching you how to think. It's teaching you how to innovate the factory, right? And change the way that we think about things. And I guarantee you're going to leave taking some things back and becoming a better thinker for it. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to different regions. We're going to bring different regions, all the regions of the world, all the continents together in one place. The first week, Chris and I are going to actually host a session very similar to what you see here, okay, except we're probably going to have a little more emphasis on the serious, unfortunately. Sorry to disappoint.
Smidge
Smidge more serious. Still room for jokes and memes. Smidge more serious. And we're going to source, crowdsource, I guess is appropriate. We're going to crowdsource problems by region, and then we're going to whittle that down to like one problem per region. These are my regions over here. And then we're going to scope product and actually build product. Product is a fancy word for software technology. We're going to build software. We're going to code some cool stuff to do things and to solve these problems. And we're going to do it in the public domain. We're going to do it in the public sphere. And I don't think that's ever been done before, Chris.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I think, can I maybe make a comment? I saw there's an interesting comment in here, and I agree with him. Jack has a comment in here. In my opinion, you'll never get systems to talk to each other before, and it's because of a trust issue. I think I agree in a lot of ways in this. Full integration, right? Right now, a number of us are proving that you can do some of these integrations. It's not easy, but I think the thing that we're hoping for is through this event, is to kind of help maybe create a catalyst moment where we start seeing more interaction across lines in our industry, and see if we can start providing some more frameworks for people to come together. And even actually next week, I get a chance to be with some folks over in Puget Sound, and we're going to be talking, the relocation council that's over there, we're going to be talking about how important it is for us to come together as an industry to solve the problems that we're dealing with right now. We can't be doing it in a vacuum. And so I hope, we'll see. I hope Veric's still out, right? We haven't had this, but our hope is that this could be one of maybe many of these kinds of events that we could start to have. And I would also add, the other thing that's great about this is, and thinking it as I think an outworking of the pandemic, is that we're forced to do this digitally right now. And I think that's great because it's giving us this ability to do something worldwide, whereas usually you're just doing it with, more like a North America conference, or you're doing, even if it's international. I mean, a lot of our conferences are still very US centric, or if you've got one in Europe, it might only be more European centric and so forth, right? And it's giving us that opportunity to go broad and really engage audiences that maybe we haven't really engaged in the past. So
100%. And we always talk about diversity and better ideas coming from diversity, right? So now if we have an APAC contingency talking with an Africa contingency, talking with the European contingency, et cetera, hopefully maybe these ideas will influence one another. I mean, you look at what Europe's doing with GDPR and privacy and things like that. And I'm just going to kill this for a second. It's giving me a seizure. And it's like, well, what can we learn from GDPR? Because they're ahead of us on that. Look at the way that APAC's handled COVID response. They're ahead of us on that, right? I mean, WhatsApp and some of the technologies that they're using in Asia are ahead of us right here in the US, right? As much as we like to think of ourselves as being at the forefront. So I think there's a lot we can learn from other regions. Jack, I'm going to spin this around, Jack. If you're still with us, I'd love to hear your thoughts. You said, in my opinion, you will never get systems to talk to each other before there is trust between each other. Let's solve for trust. How do we solve for trust, Jack? How you didn't say this will never work. You said until there's trust.
I'll put it in Mural. How might we build trust?
Do we want to get back in Mural? Do we want to hop in for a quick little Mural thing?
Why not? We might at least yield a really good GIF. We'll see.
Yes, in GIFs only? Do we know how to just do GIFs? Or GIFs? GIFs or GIFs?
GIFs, I don't know. I always say GIF. I hope I'm not wrong in that. Let's see.
Do we want to carve out a GIF, a trust GIF section? GIFs, drawings, or quotes. We'll look for quotes for people that just don't know how to put a GIF together. Hop back in Mural real quick. Inspire us all. I see Visiting Lions in there, which I appreciate and respect. Hop back in there real quick. The link is right here. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's the wrong link. Oops. But do register for the Alta Vita Symposium. That's right there. Mike D'Elia, shout out to you, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Here's the link. There's a link. So Chris wrote, how might we create trust between systems and people in pursuit of digital ecosystems? GIF preferred. This is your moment, people. This is what you've been waiting for. Okay, whoever drew the dog over there, this is what you've been waiting for. I do love the dog. So I want to ask you, Chris, we've talked a little bit about what our goal is, but what is your expectation from this? Is this going to be a huge, enormous, amazing thing? Is it massive fail? Something in between? What are your thoughts? What are your expectations of the Ultimate Innovation Summit?
I think it's going to be good no matter what, even if it is an epic fail, because you always learn something, don't you? And so I hope it's not an epic fail. I think we've got some really great people involved to try to do this, and we've got a lot of great people in this industry too. That I think if we get ourselves together and we even just start to think through some of this, I don't see how it couldn't yield some good fruit from it. I think the thing that'll be interesting is, can we get to the point where we've got some solutions that really are driving some tangible impact for people? That's, I think, where the big challenge is. But even if all we do is just get people to think differently, I think it's successful. And get them to work with other people that maybe they wouldn't have worked with in the past. Or maybe haven't had the chance to work with in the past. I think it's still successful.
You know what I think is going to happen here, and shout out to Jack here. Jack says doesn't have to be as complex as addressing ecosystems. Go for low-hanging fruit first. He's saying, how do we just trust each other? Can we amend the question just to how do we create trust? This is something Jack and I have talked about. Jack might actually host a big industry-wide Kumbaya session one of these days. If there's a drum circle, I expect you there, Chris.
I'll bring my drum.
Yeah. I don't know why I assume you'd have a drum, but you definitely seem like a BYOD guy. So, BYOD. No, but hey, Jack, I'm gonna ask you, are you in, Jack? Are you in the mural system real quick? I want you to log in. I want you to tell me what you think about the usability of it. I see some people floating around. Put a little post-it note or something. Are you guys trying to make GIFs? Is that what's going on? I see people fluttering about. Put a quote in. Put a GIF. Draw something. Draw a smiley face. Two hands holding hands. So here's what I think. Here's my expectation for this. Expectation is a strong word, but here's what I think is going to happen. Bold prediction. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're all going to think differently. We are all going to expand the realm of the possible, our mental realm of the possible, which I think is the foundation for which all other ideas and execution sits on. So I think from that standpoint, it's going to be a rousing success. I think it's going to be a success in terms of getting a whole bunch of people in the room that might be competitors or might have never met each other before, being vulnerable, sharing things, and leaving without our worlds having collapsed. You know, and knowing that it's okay to totally riff with people that, might be a competitor.
Yeah.
I think we're going to build, five pieces of product to solve 5 problems in 5 different regions, which is extremely ambitious, with a product roadmap of timeline of 2 months or something to go from conceiving of a problem to iterate step 1 to iterate again and test, to then launch at the actual final innovation summit and awards that they're doing in May. And I think that's super aggressive. But I think that even just the beta of these, the beta product or whatever you want to call it, I'm getting all my terms mixed up because I'm just pretending to know what I'm talking about. But even just rolling out the beta product is going to make people think so differently about what's possible, and then they can take that beta product that may or may not be ready for prime time, ready to plug in to existing systems, but they can take this and say, hey, Altavita did it. Hey, IT guy that I've been bugging about this project forever, and you keep telling me go away because it's not on the steering committee, hasn't decided it's on the priority list. Hey, Altavita did it. It looks really cool. Everybody liked it. We should do it too. And so then they're going to take it back, and then it's going to be validated that it can actually work. So I think that's going to happen.
Ben, I think that's a really important part of all of this too that made me really want to get involved. There, this isn't the first time we've had an opportunity in the industry where somebody said, "Hey, I have this idea to maybe do something different." Or to think innovatively, or to pursue new ideas, or whatever. I think the important part here, though, is that they were very intentional about saying, we want to do this, but we also want to connect it to execution. And that's where I think some of the things that I've been involved in the past, when I look at industry type events, they fall flat. Is you just kind of leave and you said, well, we just talked about this. Now what? And then you're kind of left with, well, who picks up the ball and runs with it? And so the fact that they're saying, okay, we're going to also try to build something to be able to give you something of value in return is pretty huge. And they put a timeline on it as well. And so that forces you to also then execute whatever you can in that time frame. And it might not be the most perfect thing. It's more like your MVP, your minimal viable product, right? That minimal value that you can provide in X amount of time. And you get it out into market, you learn from it, and then you continue to evolve it. And so I think that line of thinking is also what really attracted me to jumping in and helping on this effort. So I think from that standpoint, it also will be successful.
I gotta tell you, like, the courage that these women have to do that, and to be like, hey, everybody, give us whatever problem you come up with. It's like, pick a card, any card,
Yeah.
right? Give us whatever problem you come up with. Okay, don't show it to me. Okay, and then we're gonna solve it in 2 months, and then we're gonna put it like on a whole thought leadership / award show around the unveiling of this product live in front of the world.
Yep.
5 products, 5 continents, 5 opportunities to fail massively, right? And we're gonna like show it, and like that to me takes incredible courage, because anybody that's ever created something knows how vulnerable that process is. I'm afraid to show people within my company things I've done. Like, I'm afraid to show my boss my first draft of a PowerPoint, much less like, hey, I created this based on everybody's feedback, and what do you think? So I gotta applaud Vivi, Carolina, the whole team.
Yeah.
It takes massive chutzpah to do this. So,
And that's how we get new things right into the market. You take a chance, and you jump into places that are uncomfortable or unknown, and you see what happens. And sometimes they're epic fails, and sometimes they're enormous success stories. But you never know unless you actually try it.
Vivi is commenting here, and unfortunately, it's not pulling her name. Vivi's the CEO and co-founder of AltaVita, and my client. Full disclosure, but I'm so impressed with her. She says we want to be challenged to see things through. She's all about delivering. She's all about execution. Vivi, I wanted to ask you here, and I know there's a delay, so but I wanted to ask you, what is your expectation? What do you think is going to happen? Where did you get the courage to even do this? You're kind of crazy in a good way, and I love it. But I'd love to hear your comments in there. We'll feature those, obviously. Scott Williamson said, great stuff, Chris. Welcome to Texas, Ben. Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Jack says, you are correct, Ben. We build these meetings like you're doing with AltaVita, baby steps. For sure. And I think that's also another thing, too. If I may, just kind of pontificate about trust and everything. It's funny because I was, I don't know, Chris, you got kids?
I do. Yep.
Yeah. So have you been on this like Disney Plus thing, and they're doing like the Mulan drop? It's like $30, but you got to get it. And then they dropped this one called Raya recently. So I watched Raya 3 times over the weekend with my kids, right? And it's like basically an animated Mulan kind of thing, and warrior princess kicks butt, and there's actually it's really good storytelling. Anyway, animated. But there's like these water dragons and stuff, and the whole theme of the movie is trust. And they're like in a super desperate situation, and they have to trust one another, even though none of them have been worthy of trust, you know. But you have to like extend your hand, knowing it's going to get like chopped off potentially, right? But I mean, that's how trust is earned. Trust is earned by trusting others. And if we're not willing to extend our hand and to be the first people to trust, we're never going to be worthy of trust either. And I just want to remind people that if we see a problem, we are either part of the solution or we're not. And so, I don't know, just riffing. You know?
Yeah, and it definitely takes time. I mean, it's not like we're gonna solve the trust issue in this event, right? But if we chip away, if it's like one more chip away at that problem, then fantastic, right? And I think the other thing too, that I like the timing of this too, because I feel like we've been over the last year in the state where because of the digital realm that we're in, it's really been pulling us together in spaces like LinkedIn, or I've seen a lot of activity on Clubhouse, right? And so I think this is also just kind of building on that concept of connecting digitally. And so hopefully that at some point this will also then translate then to those connections in person, and maybe making those a little bit more fruitful.
Yeah, I love it. You mentioned Clubhouse. Are you on Clubhouse, Chris?
You know, I've been trying to resist. There's just too much.
This is futile.
I know. There's just like too much. I don't know how. Especially if you have kids. I don't know how you have time for it. I barely have time for the things I've got going on already.
Dude, I know. But like, yeah, no, it's funny because I'll be listening to Clubhouse. Like, I'll just have it on randomly. Like, I'll be like, the kids will be like, you know, in the bath or something, or like going to sleep or something, and I'll just be downstairs like listening to Clubhouse. And my wife will come downstairs. She's like, "Who are you on the phone with?" Like, it'll be some woman's voice. "Who are you on the phone?" It'll be like a Jake from State Farm moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, it's Clubhouse." She's like, "What is Clubhouse?" You know, and I'm like, "Whoa, no, it's just like."
What are they wearing on Clubhouse?
I don't even know what they're wearing. It's just audio only. I have no idea. And anyway, so yeah, Clubhouse. Yeah, it's wild. But speaking of Clubhouse here, I see Christine Lee Caldwell joining in here. What you put out in the universe, you get back 100%. And shout out to Christine, because Christine, and I can't give this girl enough props, because Christine actually was the one who had the first idea, really to and beyond more than idea, execution of actually going out and researching how to start a group on Clubhouse for our industry. So yesterday, actually, we started the Global Mobility Group on Clubhouse. Just posted on my LinkedIn some information about how to join that. So if you're on Clubhouse, or if you want to be on Clubhouse, go check it out. Leave something in the comments. You'll get an invitation. One of us, somebody in the community, will send you an invitation. I think we have about 27 members right now. I could easily see that go 100-fold if people stop resisting the inevitable and hop on the new wave. Yeah, because we'd love to, because then it becomes really easy to talk about, talking about crowdsourcing things, like really easy to just kick around like benchmarking discussions, really easy to democratize ideas around innovation, really easy to network in ways that are like, you don't have to turn on the camera and be all camera ready and have a nice Zoom background or whatever. So highly recommend you join the Global Mobility Group on Clubhouse. Christine and I are both admins. We're doing our first meeting tomorrow at 1 Eastern, 12 Central, 6 GMT. So check that out. And I hear Chris put a post-it note there. So check that out. And let's see here. So Chris, have I convinced you to try out Clubhouse or no?
Yeah, I guess.
No, that's a nice guy no if I ever heard one. That's like such a nice guy. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, we'll see.
Gosh, something came up out of conflict. Work. Vivi answers the question I asked earlier. She says, we do this all day, our day job. It won't be anything different than what we do on a daily basis. As a product manager, you always want feedback. And from those who actually use it, 2 months of real feedback, not 2 years of building products people won't use. That's fascinating. What do you think about this comment, Chris?
There's certainly, I think, as an industry, we have a lot of examples of technology that fall into this place. And I think, if we're honest, I think most companies have had that happen to them at one point or another. And so we've all built something, whether a service or built a piece of tech that we built out of our own understanding of a situation or of somebody's needs, rather than actually going and doing the research to really understand it. And so I do agree. It's important that we're building things where we're getting feedback, and we're getting it from the real people that are using it, and we incorporate that feedback into what we're doing. So.
Yeah, and I love what she said there too, like 2 months of getting feedback versus 2 years of building products that nobody uses. And when we're talking about the risks of developing things in the public sphere, you know, and obviously anybody can steal it, you know, it's like, or is the bigger risk working on 2 years of something nobody cares about? It's totally irrelevant, you know?
Right.
And so it's like, okay, let's be open and let's get a ton of feedback and iterate super quickly and have user buy-in throughout the whole process and test it with our users, you know, and actually have something has a better shot of actually being relevant. I mean, that's the...
Yeah, and I think this is an interesting industry in that things get so quickly commoditized. And I think it'd be interesting if we all, and granted, I realize, and so I'm going to make the statement, I realize that not everybody has the means to be able to build a development team that's doing things and by a product management structure, right, and focus, and to do it in a human-centered way. Not everybody has that means, and that's fully, I think we should all be understanding of that. But for those of us that do, if we were all focused on building things on a regular basis that were human-centered, so understanding the people's needs and then building towards those needs rather than how we see it or how we think it should work, it'd be interesting to see if that commoditization of stuff would go away, and maybe it would. I don't know. I think could be interesting. Challenge put out there. And I know some companies are. I mean, we do. We put a lot of investment in that. Do we always get it right? No, but that's why you continue to keep talking to users, so you can keep iterating on it. So I say all that not to say that there aren't people that are doing it. I know of other companies that are doing this right, and right. AltaVita is a good example also. So.
Yeah, awesome. This is so much fun. This was like one of the most dynamic things I've done in a while. I'm super stoked about this. I want to get a final thought from you. Before I do, I want to really quick go, if you haven't already done so, go to altavita.com/innovation. We're also looking for sponsor companies as well. So if you want to get involved in the product development and kind of innovation cycle, it's not a huge commitment of time. We're probably talking about 4 hours over about 3-4 months, maybe 2. Oh my gosh, maybe only 2.5 months. We got a lot of work to do. Anyway, it's only about 4 hours though. Super manageable unless your name's Chris and Ben. So highly recommend you get involved. Reach out to me, reach out to VV, Chris, whomever. We'll get you hooked up, and then you guys can sponsor. Just looking for time. Lindy's checking and saying what's up as well.
Hey, Lindy.
Chris, I want to ask you just kind of final thoughts here. Love to hear just kind of closing words, maybe, or anything you want to leave us with.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back. It's cool to be back here with you, and thank you to everybody for jumping in our crazy mural experiment today, which we literally decided to do 2 minutes before the broadcast started. So thanks for going on that ride. I think. If anything, maybe the closing thought is, I think we have a lot of opportunity ahead of us in this year and the years ahead to do some really cool work and to form some really great partnerships across our industry. And so I would just challenge everybody, just keep focused on how we can continue to advance the partnerships that we have currently, but also new ones. And how can we look to those partnerships to be a means for doing bigger and better things than what we're doing. It certainly takes us challenging our comfort zone. Certainly takes us to a place where we're challenging, our own ways of doing things, right? But that's a good thing. And that uncomfortability really can yield a lot of great things. So, I mean, heck, what we're doing here is a good example. We've taken a risk with another group, and who knows what comes out of it. And I think it's going to be good stuff, but you never know until it's over. So
yeah, you got to be willing for it to not be good stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah,
on the page
yeah.
of notes, I think I asked one question on this page, and it's like we just decided to totally pivot, and that's cool, right? So, because you can always go back to the notes, you can always go
Right.
back to Plan A,
Right.
and do it safe, if you need to. But yeah, this is awesome, man. Hey, Chris, this is fantastic. Really, 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 really appreciate this, and everybody really, really dug this. Alan enjoyed it from Germany. Jamie, this is great. People talking about 4-hour span in 2 months. Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Chris. Again, I always leave smarter than when I came when I talk to you, Chris.
Cool. That's exciting. That's a great compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, everybody. And check us out tomorrow.